Hello everyone and welcome to Lot of Tech once again. So recently I upgraded my monitor to this 27-inch 4K monitor from LG, and I got this one from the sale that was recently going on Amazon. The prices were already low to around 28,500, and after discount and everything the effective price was around 27,000. So in today's video I'm mainly going to talk about this monitor, its features and some of the other options that you can look for if you want to buy a monitor for your PC, along with some tips. So let's start the video. So if I talk about the design and build quality, the monitor is a combination of black and white. The back part of the monitor is white in finish while the front is black. And this is not any monitor with very thin bezels or completely bezel-less. In fact, you will find matte black frame that goes around the panel, and the panel is also matte black in finish. At this particular price point, the monitor does not look very premium at all, but having a matte black finish on the front has its own advantages. Like for example, if I compare this LG's matte black panel with any regular panel, and if there is any source of light behind you, and then if you compare these displays, then you will find that the LG's matte black panel actually cuts off light, reflection and all sorts of glare. Now this really helps in keeping viewing angles very accurate, and the monitor is not going to cause any sort of distraction due to that reflection. If I talk about the overall quality of the display, then I would say that the brightness is very good, the saturation and contrast is also very good, the colors are very punchy and not oversaturated. If you are setting up any dark wallpaper, then you will notice that the black areas in the wallpaper are going to look perfectly black. Apart from that, I didn't notice any sort of unusual backlighting coming out from the panel, neither from the corners or any of the sides. And overall I will say that it's a very color accurate monitor, and still if you're not happy with the color settings, then you can always go in your settings and change your brightness and contrast. Then you have also been given different kind of picture modes to play around with, so I'm definitely sure you will find one of your best setting. And also you have been given 5 different options to change your color temperature, so mixing all of these features, you will definitely find your best setting. Now below the panel you have been given a power button, which is kind of a joystick and has an inbuilt LED, and this LED is going to glow up once you restart your PC, and it's going to glow up for a couple of seconds, then it's going to turn off. And after a fresh start, whenever you are going to restart your PC, the light on this button is not going to glow up. The good thing here is that this light is facing downwards, so especially if you are starting your computer at night, it's not going to cause any sort of distraction. If I talk about the adjustment angles of the monitor, so the monitor can only be tilted front and back. The tilt is not too much, but it's very much sufficient, and I didn't had any sort of major issues with it. And the bad thing about the monitor here is that the height of the monitor cannot be adjusted. If you want to adjust the height, then you have to buy a separate VESA mount, or you have to buy any sort of arm, or you will get that sort of functionality in the higher models, which I'll talk about later in the video. If you look at the back of the panel, then first of all you will find a VESA mount. Now the stand or the arm for VESA mount is not provided along with the unit, so you have to buy that separately. And then you have been given this DP port through which I have connected my NVIDIA graphics card. Then you have got 2 HDMI port, 1 power cable and 1 headphone output, or you can say 1 aux output. They have been given certain kind of grills which looks like there is an inbuilt speaker, but you don't have any sort of inbuilt speaker in this particular model. One small little thing I would like to mention here is that your DP cable and your HDMI cable that has been provided with your monitor, they have a press and pull out mechanism. And I actually never had this kind of cables and this kind of functionality with my existing cables, so I was not aware of it. So these kind of cables are going to go very easily inside your port, but whenever you are going to pull out, they are not going to come out, and you may be applying a lot of force, and in that process you may be damaging the cable as well as your port. So just keep that in mind. There is also a small little marking on the cable, but it's barely visible. I just wish that LG could have made the markings more clear. So I guess you got a very fair idea about what this monitor is and what are its specifications. If you don't want to buy a monitor from LG, you can probably look for other brands, and I also researched for some of the brands in the offline market. So my first choice was AOC, and when I inquired about AOC with some of the dealers, so they said that the quality of AOC is at least not at par with LG and Samsung, so I completely filtered out AOC. I'm not saying it's completely bad. AOC makes some very good and affordable 4K displays, but as they told me, so I agreed to their point. The next obvious choice was Samsung and Acer Nitro. Honestly speaking, I didn't do much of my research on Samsung and Acer Nitro, but if you want, you can go for these 2 brands as well. But yeah, the brand that I was looking for was BenQ. Now, one of the problem with BenQ is that the after sales service in India is not good. and this is something very region specific. So if you are living in some part of the world where the BenQ service is very good, then you can go for BenQ monitors as well. They are very good monitors and but little bit expensive as well. So looking from the Indian perspective and what is the after sales service of different brands here, I went for LG. Now LG is a kind of company that releases monitors on consistent basis every year, so my obvious choice was LG. Now if I talk about LG, so LG has categorized their monitor in three different categories. The first category is ultra fine, then we have the ultra gear, and the last one is the ultra wide. So in ultra fine series you will find 4K monitors, and this is the kind of series that is mainly targeted for color oriented people. If you want a monitor to use with video editing or Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator or these kind of stuff, then you should go for the ultra fine display. If you are mainly a gamer and you want monitor for gaming purpose specifically, then you can go for their ultra gear series, which has a high frame rate and low response time monitor. The third category is the ultra wide category, the wide category, and this category is, I believe, for those people who are very productivity oriented, where you have been given a lot of space and you want to open up a lot of windows and do multiple tasks at the same time. Now, instead of talking about different models at the same time, I'm going to explain a little bit about the naming convention of LG, which will clear a picture about different models at the same time. So first of all, if you talk about the LG's model number, the first number represents the size of the display. 27 inch, 32 inch, 24 inch. The first number represents the size of the display. The next number represents is the UL. Now, UL also breaks up into two parts. U means ultra fine, G means ultra gear, and W means wide monitors. Then we have the next alphabet L, K, or N, like UL. L means it was released in 2019. K means it was released in 2018, and N means it's going to release in, or it was released in 2020. L, N, M, O, K, it goes something like that. I'm not pretty sure about K, but I think it was K represents 2018. After these two alphabets comes the next big number, like the 500, 650, 850, 600. So this is actually the quality of your display. My monitor is UL500, so you can say it's like one of the base quality in the 4K segment. If you're buying monitor in the 850 series, so they will definitely have a much better panel. The next important thing is F and G. This is the number that is usually written after your display. So F means FreeSync, G means G-Sync. If any number is not written, it means it doesn't have any kind of sync. After that, you have one more alphabet like B or W. B means black, W means white. So that's pretty much about the naming convention. I hope it gave you some idea. Next important thing is sRGB. So there are monitors that have things written like 98% sRGB, 99% and 100% sRGB. So if I talk about sRGB, so it's something like you are utilizing a very small part of the entire color spectrum. So for general use and for general people, sRGB is more than sufficient. But if you're someone who is using Adobe, you can say Adobe products, especially Adobe Photoshop, and you want to print what you are editing, then you should not take sRGB into consideration. You should buy some monitor which has Adobe sRGB, because Adobe sRGB is a much more bigger color spectrum as compared to sRGB. The next important thing is HDR. HDR10, HDR400, HDR1000, HDR600. It doesn't really, it looks kind of a very, you can say big numbers on paper, but practically HDR is a kind of standard. If your monitor is meeting certain standards, it gets those certification, but practically it does not mean that HDR 1000 is completely blow up your mind when you compare with HDR 10. But definitely higher the number, it's a better display. Keep that in mind. So friends, this was all about the video, and I would also like to say that the more you go for big numbers, the performance or the quality does not increase in that particular ratio. Okay, the difference between the base model and the highest model and the price is like too high, and I have already moved from a monitor, which I've already moved from a 12-year monitor to this 4K display, and I'm like completely blown out. If you are someone who is already in the world of 4K, you already own a 4K monitor, then I think you know more than me, and you can go for some of the very high-end monitors if you have the cash. So this was all about the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any queries or any questions, you can post that in the comments. I'll try to answer them, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.